Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and of course I'm joined by John Doull, and we're going to go into the hypocrisy of so many of these collectivists when it comes to World War III. So many people that claimed they were against globalism during the election when Hillary Clinton was making all these war hawk talking points about going into Syria, shooting down Russian planes in Syria through a no-fly zone, just insane talking points. Suddenly, now that Trump's in office, they support it, and it just goes to show like this continual deception that is pushed on people through the presidency, through the shiny new king is the old king kind of scenario, the greater good of the greater number collectivist mantra, the fact that a lot of this is inherently leftist, and let me just explain that for a second. The fact that people are calling me out for being a so-called libtard because I dare speak out against the military-industrial complex. Yeah. Meanwhile, the military-industrial complex is about as big of a government as you can get. It's global governance. It's policemen of the world. That is a leftist notion, and people are going to say, well, that's just confusing the facts here. Well, let's kind of just go into the fact that collectivism is the use of force against free individuals in a collective, in a group. So one person, or say the elected official that 51% elected, can make decisions for the rest of us and say we must bend over, we must be in servitude to these ideas because 51% of us say that 49%, for example, can't eat dinner. 49% can't smoke pot, and these just all these different ideas. And then at the same time, it's just so hypocritical because people talk about leftism. This is big government ideology that's being portrayed by Trump in recent days. So he bombs or shoots missiles at Syria, believing these false flag pretenses regarding Assad, and suddenly all these people that were saying that Trump works for Russia are now saying anyone that disagrees with Trump works for Russia. Yeah. What do you think about this constant escalation of the military-industrial complex with North Korea, Syria, and Afghanistan?
You get the sense, watching the way things have unfolded through the Obama administration and the Trump administration, that the Bush administration is still in power. Mm-hmm. Almost nothing has changed despite two massive shifts politically. We had Obama's hope and change. Back in 2008, he was saying some pretty great sounding things, mm-hmm. A lot of silly things too.
Obviously, yeah.
Smirking while people called him the Messiah, like, oh, well, I just might be.
Oh, what? I never.
Yeah, but
that was a Bill Clinton impersonation. Go ahead.
He was saying that he was going to shut down Gitmo, that he was going to start bringing the troops home from Afghanistan and Iraq right away, mm-hmm. and then he ended up being hugely expansionary, imperialist president who, under his watch, new wars were started in Syria, Libya. They sent troops into Uganda,
Yemen. Yeah, absolutely. And let me just point this out quickly, that all these people are going off on the news, Fox News, CNN, etc., claiming that Obama was some weak, non-militaristic president. He bombed more countries than any other president. He got off on bombing babies. He got off on drone bombing children, including.
He was good at killing people.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's include in this mix Alawaki, and I'm not talking about the elder. I'm talking about the younger, junior. Was a 16-year-old Colorado student who liked playing Pokemon and was at, I believe it was a barbecue, and was just drone bombed to smithereens under the National Defense Authorization Act, which is a horrible kind of communistic policy that was put forward by the Obama administration. It was around before then, but it was added onto, kind of like the Patriot Act. It was like a revisionist version of the Patriot Act. And like, we see all these people claiming that just completely forgetting history, putting the past aside like it never happened. Suddenly, Obama's out of office for a couple months, and it's Obama never really bombed anyone. He was so nice to everyone, and blah, 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 blah. He was one of the most violent people to ever win the Nobel Peace Prize. I'll give him that. Him and Kissinger and Rockefeller. But then on top of this, you see all these people that were just back in November, even into December, mm-hmm. saying that Hillary Clinton is a warmonger and she wants to go into Syria, all these horrible things. and that Trump is going to be the change we've been waiting to see, when really, in reality, we as individuals are the change we wish to see. But they thought so much that Trump is going to end all of this. Then he gets into office, and he didn't wait very long. He instantly took Hillary Clinton's approach on it, and now these people are supporting it. And it's so dangerous, because we are looking down a barrel with Russia right now. Of course, Justin Trudeau in Canada supports everything that Trump is doing now in Syria, and under Operation Unifier a while back ago, put troops around the Russian border. I mean, this is insane. We're escalating and escalating and escalating, and then calling Russia the criminals, calling Assad the criminals. The U.S. has dropped more chemicals on babies than any other country I could ever think of. What do you think about this vast hypocrisy? It's driving me crazy, because it's sad to watch all these people suddenly crumble in their viewpoints and bend over into servitude to Trump, because they're glassy-eyed with the religion of statism, that anything that he says must be right. It's like they don't even have political views.
Yeah, and a number of people that we see often commenting on Facebook and YouTube, we've seen direct about faces just in the last couple of weeks, where they were praising Wham and the work we were doing very recently, and agreeing with us that Hillary wanted to start World War III back when we were talking about that in the fall, because obviously she is all for World War III.
Yeah, she's a horrible person.
She was even suggesting that Trump strike some air bases in Syria on the very day that he did.
Like an hour before he did, yeah.
And we've seen these same people, exactly as you're saying, say, well, Trump's he's protecting America and he's taking charge and he's not weak like Obama. And it just shows that these people never really cared about the issues. They just need a different flavor, a different feeling to their authoritarianism.
They want to feel comfort.
You give them someone who's not PC, who doesn't have all the annoying trappings of the left, and they're fine with it. Like their real concerns in the election evidently had more to do with just wanting a cultural change than an actual change in foreign policy or anything substantive like that.
Well, I mean,
it's pretty disgusting.
I remember I predicted back in November that this kind of apathy would take a hold of people no matter what he does. Like right after he won, I was saying, look, what's going to happen when he wins? Well, now that he's won, people are going to just bend over like they did with Obama, like they did with Bush. All the small government libertarians that voted for Bush in 2000 that supported everything that he was calling out. And he was saying really small government things, a lot like what Trump was saying during the election. He was calling out the Federal Reserve. He was calling out all these things.
Promising tax cuts.
Yeah, and then Bush became a huge neocon war hawk that supported the military-industrial complex to the extreme and really showed a lot of left-leaning viewpoints, to say the least.
Created whole new departments of the government. The Department of Homeland Security.
Interestingly named the same thing that the Nazis had for their Department of Homeland Security.
Expanded hugely on the surveillance state, I should say. Didn't create it, but I mean, brought in the Patriot Act and all these, exactly as you say, extremely big government measures.
Well, yeah, George H.W. Bush grew the size of the government. Clinton grew the size of the government. Bush grew the size of the government. Obama grew the size of the government. And now Trump is growing the size of the government. He's cutting little things and pushing us off to the side. That's what they call a limited hangout in the CIA, where you give people a bit of reason to support you while doing things under the wraps and doing things on the side that are obviously growing the size and scope and power of the government, the federal government, and the global government. And it's just so sad to see someone who was going... Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. And then he turns around and he's saying lately that I stand for the world, I'm a president for the world, and I'm going to be the policeman of the world, and believe all these false flag pretenses like with Assad. Does anyone truly believe, and why, that Assad, I mean, first of all, these are the same people that would have been obviously questioning this during the election, but that Assad chemical bombed his own people just 2 or 3 days after the Trump administration said they don't want anything to do with overthrowing Assad, that they're now leaving him alone after years of the Obama administration going after Syria and destabilizing, arming rebels, etc. And then, of course, Trump, Tillerson, and Nikki Haley were all saying, we don't want anything to do with overthrowing Assad. We're going to stop doing that. And then a couple days later, Assad just shoots himself in the foot and chemical bombs his own people. And these white helmet people that apparently were dealing with sarin gas have no gloves on or masks and are walking around. It's just so insane. This is just the huge example of the hypocrisy and the absurdity of people just believing anything their government tells them and saying anyone that disagrees with them must work for Russia, much like the Democrats were doing obsessively alongside people like John McCain at the beginning of the administration, which it kind of already is, but things are moving fast. And now Trump's doing all these things and they're supporting him, and anyone who disagrees with Trump is now working for Russia. Like Julian Assange must be working for Russia just for seriously just exposing the truth, whether it was Bush, Obama, or Trump. And now Trump is praising Janet Yellen in the Federal Reserve. Trump is praising China. Trump is praising NATO. And when are these people going to see, wow, this is crazy. He's flip-flopped on everything. He is a total puppet for the establishment. He has no say. He's just doing what they tell him to do, or else, the threat of being assassinated by the government and all that. I mean, how far are these people going to go in the States where they keep seeing this stuff play out and they keep believing it every time because it just gets a little more sophisticated?
It's really sad and disgusting to watch, and you have to wonder, as you say, how many times can people be fooled? I mean, it makes me think of Canada, where our federal government is just a rotating circus of liberals and progressive conservatives who, we will have a few years of the liberals. People get tired of the tax hikes and all the silly liberal policies and the type of crap we're seeing with Justin Trudeau, and they say, oh, we need to get the government in line and cut down on this bureaucracy and the taxes. We'll bring in the progressive conservatives. And the PCs get in, and all they want to do is just hand out monopoly contracts and corporate welfare to all these big corporations, and they're just incredibly corrupt and into warmongering and all this stuff. So they say, oh, we need the liberals again. Liberals get in, they break all their campaign promises. They say, oh, we can't fulfill our campaign promises because the cupboards are bare from those conservatives. Yeah. And
it just repeats. It repeats. It's Hegelian. It's a problem, reaction, solution, repeat over and over again.
Yeah, and I mean, one wonders with the American foreign policy when people will wake up in larger numbers to the fact that there's a deeper script going on that's been laid out by people in the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, the president isn't the president. The deep state always wins. The shadow government always wins.
I think it's really important to look back to what General Wesley Clark said years ago.
The 7-country plan.
Yeah, I mean, he became aware of a plan that the neocons had under Bush. People like Wolfowitz and Cheney had been working on a plan to invade 7 countries, and Libya was on the list, Syria was on the list, Iraq was on the list. Yeah, it's being fulfilled in front of our eyes, and the truth is, no matter who became the president, the decision's already been made that they need to expand into Syria.
And I mean, to be honest, Wesley Clark refuses to talk about it now, and he'll just fend off any journalists who dare ask.
He's not a great person. He just told the truth on that occasion.
Yeah, and actually on 2 occasions he talked about it, and Luke Rudowski, of course, of We Are Change, tried to question him on it, and he would have none of it. But I feel like a lot of this has to do with the comfort of people. So people want handouts. So that, of course, usually goes for the neoliberals of today, the socialists, the communists, etc. And it goes for the neocons and the so-called small government conservatives, unfortunately, today as well. And a lot of these libertarians, the libertarians for Trump. And I find it really interesting that they could still stand by it after all this time, but I think it's completely based in comfort. They have comfort in their apathy. They like to be able to sit there and not have to do anything. They want someone else to do it for them when the job at hand is dirty, and it takes a lot of work and takes a lot of effort, and takes a lot of effort by individuals rather than just waiting for the government to change it, because government always historically begets more government. people talk about Reagan. Oh, he solved everything. Did he solve everything? He still grew the size of the government in many ways. Yes, he took away some aspects of it, but he grew it in a whole bunch of ways. And what happened next? George H.W. Bush, who was a vice president under him anyway, but George H.W. Bush grows the size. If he fixed anything, why does it continue? If he fixed anything, why did that lead to Clinton and Bush and Obama and now Trump? And now Trump's like, I got to clean up this mess. It goes back to what J. Edward Griffin told me when I was speaking with him in Acapulco, Mexico last month, which is the new king is better than the old king. Mm-hmm. It's always been that idea of hope and change. Of course, by the end of every reign, they go, well, this new guy's better than the other guy because we've seen what he's done. Oh, but no, this guy's better than the last guy. And it continues. The liberals are wrong. The conservatives are wrong because they perpetuate the religion of statism, this collectivist rule over and over again, thinking that, oh, well, government is causing all these problems, so we need government to do this. Oh, but because they did this, we need to fix this, so we'll get government to fix that. And it just goes perpetually in a circle. And people are so apathetic, which is why we saw the anti-war left disappear for 8 years under Obama, which is why we saw the small government conservatives disappear for 8 years under Bush. And now we're watching it again under Trump. The small government conservatives and the left rises up, and then the next election they take it, and then it goes in a circle. When are people going to learn that this is only going to perpetuate forever as long as we depend on the state instead of ourselves? So let's end this off, John, with a bit of talk about the incredible values involved in the idea of voluntarism and how, we are the most accepting ideology because anyone can have their conservative society over there, their liberal society over there, their socialist, communist, whatever, as long as you're not enforcing rules on anyone and let the market decide as you use your demand for that. Prices would be lower, productivity would be high, competition and innovation would be high. We'd be able to solve all sorts of problems with, for example, the medicinal field. So we'd have all these medicines that can cure all this and that because it's not monopolized under one company, under state favorhood, where they can't, no other guys can compete and innovate. And of course, innovation comes out of competition when people have to compete for the best version and the lowest prices instead of these high prices. Just the idea of how beautiful the idea of voluntarism is, instead of falling for these statist tricks all the time and then getting ourselves as pawns involved in a world war where we end up dead.
Well, the whole idea of all these collectivist political systems is based on the idea that the individual is too stupid to govern themselves and make their own decisions, and they need experts at some kind of super class of special people to make those decisions for them. And yet under democracy we're told that even though we're too stupid to govern ourselves, we're supposedly smart enough to pick the best leaders. And so we just get this rotating circus of different figureheads. They're surprisingly interchangeable in a lot of funny ways. I mean, you've got Southerners who believed that George W. Bush was an all-American Texas guy. Meanwhile, he's a New England blue blood who went to Yale. He's a spoiled brat who never really had to work in his life and just partied his way through life.
Kind of like Obama in the True game.
Yeah, and I mean, so you just switch the guy's biography around a little and he could be the same person but without his fake Texas accent and running for the Democrats just as easily, and they'd all hate him and say, oh, that rich Yankee, we don't like that guy. And it's the same with even somebody like Trump. I mean, Trump had a lot of appeal to right-leaning people because he wouldn't bow to political correctness.
And fair enough.
And I enjoyed that about him. I mean, I got a kick out of a lot of funny things that Trump said on the campaign trail, and he was a nice antidote to Hillary, the humorless, snarling technocrat who just seems like she eats babies all day and has about as much charisma as a dead frog.
As a broomstick,
But,
which he probably rides.
I mean, that's an insult to a dead frog. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
But, Trump was a Democrat for a lot of his life, and
Manhattan liberal.
Yeah, he supports a lot of liberal big government policies, as we've just talked about. And if things were framed differently in the media, a lot of people who love Trump could just as easily hate him, because these people, as entertaining as they might be sometimes, or as much as people might like some of the things that they say, ultimately these figureheads don't end up standing for anything. Yeah. They'll just do whatever the deep state dictates, and that's why we've got to take power back into our own hands, because the politicians are never going to change anything for us, and it's not their job, it's our job. Our rights aren't given to us by the state. We possess these rights intrinsically, and we need to assert them. We need to start saying we're free individuals. We're not going to be ruled over by a bunch of clowns.
Yeah, and it brings a whole new meaning to state actor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As the Trump administration, like the Obama administration before it, are calling people like Julian Assange, who's just telling the truth and exposing actual facts, they're calling them a state actor for Russia.
Yeah.
If anyone's a state actor, it's Donald Trump, it's people like Obama.
Yeah.
These people are literally just figureheads. They are actors. You think Trump is going in there and going, let's do this and we must do this immediately? He might have limited powers to sign a few executive orders according to things that he believes in, but for the most part, the most important implementations are done by the deep state. They always have been, they always will be, as long as we perpetuate this paradigm, as long as we don't see through the nonsense. Like, I thought maybe a few people were during the election. I thought a few people were actually starting to notice a lot of these things, and to some extent, I mean, we saw stuff about Pizzagate all over the internet. We saw stuff about this pedophile cabal within the deep state. We hear about the deep state in general. We see people like Sean Hannity on TV talking about the deep state and these people conspiring to kill us, and then Trump wins, and suddenly, he's kind of working with the deep state, but it's because he's learned more about the job at hand, the reality. And everyone just throws their beliefs to the side and goes, but precious Trump says, so we must follow, or else we work for the terrorists, who, by the way, Trump bombing a lot of these places is actually disabling those that are actually fighting against terrorists, like Assad and Russia, etc., and allowing for these Saudi pipelines. Another thing, Trump called out Hillary Clinton for the Saudi connection. Meanwhile, he's working so closely with the Saudi Arabians. I mean, it's just, there's so much hypocrisy, and it isn't surprising for people like myself and yourself. I mean, obviously we're more startled by the fact that it's happened so fast, but I mean, it's not surprising to us because we've been talking about it for how many years?
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't expect the Trump administration to go back on all its core principles so quickly. I thought they were actually going to be a little more non-interventionist and
play it out a little bit,
pull back somewhat from the foreign entanglements and focus more on domestic security and building their wall and things like that. But the fact that they're not doing that doesn't surprise me at all. I just thought they would be a little slicker about everything, and obviously they can get away with just going against everything that Trump campaigned on, and a lot of their supporters don't seem to care.
Yeah, so I'm going to finish this off with just a message to the haters out there, the people that are, commenting rapidly, trolling, and etc. I expect it. It's not a big deal to me because I've been getting that for years, except for the insanity of calling me a communist for being against big government, or a libtard for being against big government. Listen, folks, if you are supporting Trump as he pushes these globalist ideas forward, as the deep state pulls his strings, if you're supporting the growth of the military-industrial complex, you are a statist. You practice that leftist ideology that you claim to preach against. You are a hypocrite, and you need to learn a few things about actual political policy and individualism versus collectivism, instead of just repeating talking points like the left does. The left constantly repeats talking points that they hear in the media. Russia, 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 all this BS. Tax returns. Where's Trump's tax returns? All these stupid things that don't matter and are just stuff that's perpetuated by mainstream media. And now you guys claim to be small government conservatives, are doing the same thing. You guys are perpetuating this myth of just repeating everything you hear on the mainstream media that you claim to be against, and this myth that Trump is actually changing things. You are a leftist if you believe that Trump is doing the right thing, building, nation building, being the policeman of the world, something that he spoke out against during the election. I'm sure it's showing that you don't actually have political principles or morals. You simply have this preset belief in a leader, this status idea that this guy is going to change everything for me so I could sit back in my home and do absolutely nothing. You guys are empowering the left. You guys are empowering them to take power again in 2020, and so on and so forth. Just a perpetual paradigm, and eventually we're going to end up like Logan's Run here, and I think it's really sad that that we're seeing this repeat over and over again. So shame on you for changing your viewpoints so easily, letting these politicians manipulate your beliefs, and apparently not having any core beliefs, just something that you feel is good to be on the popular trend of. It's the trendiness of whatever's mainstream. And right now, supporting Trump is suddenly mainstream, unlike during the election when obviously supporting Clinton and her cronies were mainstream, and believing everything was done by Russia, and that the deep state, it's just a crazy conspiracy theory. The left perpetuated that trend. They got shut down, and you guys are going to get shut down all the same by being trendy and saying Trump is our hero. He's going to change the world for us. Don't insult my president, my president, my president. It's just a serious sign of the perpetual kind of circle of this paradigm that we've been watching for so many years, and the fact that this idea of statism, the religion of statism, will continue forever as long as people latch onto that trendiness and bend over and suck some serious dick, no matter who's in power. And I say that, people might find that comical, but that's basically what you're doing. You're bending over into servitude. Oh, well, the Federal Reserve is doing all these bad things. Yes, they are. Oh, well, Trump says the Federal Reserve is good now, so I like it. NATO's doing all these bad things. They're globalists. Oh, well, Trump's saying that NATO's a good thing now, so he's right, and anyone that disagrees with him works for Russia. Meanwhile, 2 months ago, I was calling out the media for claiming anyone that disagrees with the military-industrial complex works for Russia. When are you going to learn, people? And when are you going to seize the true value of freedom, individual freedom, voluntarism, and come to our side? Yeah. Understand that you speak for yourself and no one else speaks for you. That democracy is nothing more than two wolves and a sheep deciding what to have for dinner. It's sad, and I'm worried for people's children. I'm worried for my friends and family. I'm worried for the future of this world, because we just perpetuate this over and over again with these talking points regurgitated and not actually have any core beliefs, just leaders that we can latch onto and feel comfortable and apathetic under. It's been going on for more than 100 years plus. It's really been going on since the founding of the United States, where people instantly threw away their beliefs, the beliefs that people like Thomas Paine had, and threw them away for the beliefs of Alexander Hamilton. And eventually, I really hope people will learn. And if we don't learn, it'll be to our demise, and we'll be vaporized in a mushroom cloud. So I really hope that people understand how serious this is, how serious it is for now the U.S. surrounding North Korea, 150,000 troops from China around North Korea, Japan and China threatening North Korea, but also China threatening the United States at the same time, and then attacking Syria, nation building, threatening Russia, starting a potential conflict with Russia. Canada's doing the same thing. Britain's doing the same thing. I mean, the British Foreign Affairs Minister, Michael Fallon, is saying that we can attack Russia in the next 2 years and we'll obliterate them. Like, this is dangerous, and we're going to end up, as I said, vaporized in a mushroom cloud if we continue on with this belief.
What's conservative about that? I mean, just addressing these so-called conservatives who've been criticizing Wham lately for being consistent. In what way is it something a small government conservative would advocate to spend $1 million a missile to bomb a country in the Middle East that poses no threat to the United States, hasn't attacked the United States? how is that conservative? I thought you guys wanted low taxes and just to be left alone by the government. And, you know, I can support all that. I'd like to have no taxes, personally, but, you know, it's pretty bizarre, the mental contortions that people are working themselves into these days.
It's hypocrisy.
It's
at its finest. And it's sad to watch, but closing this off, you guys, if you guys are still watching, you're awesome, and you have a chance because you're being objective and looking at differentiated viewpoints, or you believe what we say, and you I guess we're preaching to the choir to some extent too, but I'm glad that you guys have stuck around for more than 30 minutes, and we will be back at you with much more. Thanks, John, for helping us kind of break this down, and I just really hope for the future of this world that we start to understand individual freedom and voluntarism versus collectivist statism and the use of force and coercion against so-called free individuals that are born free, but the government takes it away. So until next time, check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially in these times as we're being so heavily demonetized and censored by YouTube. Also, check our address for Bitcoin in the description in the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And check our link for the Red Pill Expo, where you could see people like J. Edward Griffin, Robert Kiyosaki, Ty Bollinger, Lord Moncton, and James Corbett speak. It'll be in June in Montana. It's going to be a great time. We hope to see you there. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Doull signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
Thank you.